It looks like we have somebody in Indiana, Tasha. It could be Tasha. I'm not sure. Please correct me. But it looks like Tasha wants to tell us about a paranormal experience with ghost pets. Can you hear us?
Oh.
Yeah, hi, and it is Tasha. You are right.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Yeah, I have been a groomer for like about 10 years now, and I used to groom at a veterinarian office, right across from our euthanasia room, and we always had really weird stuff that would happen. We would hear like growling down the hall when like no one was down the hall. Like, at closing time, there's like 2 people in the entire clinic, and we'd hear growling from like across the clinic. There's no dogs on that side of the clinic. We'd have to do late night walks, and out of nowhere, like the dogs would start to howl, like right as we're getting them all tucked in. All the dogs would get set off where all of a sudden, out of nowhere, everybody's calm, collected, sleeping, and then, hackles are raised, there's growling, snarling, somebody's upset. We'd had our dryers turn on. Again, nobody's like on that side of the clinic at all. There's like 2 people there. We generally had a rule that we didn't have one person there for that reason. But yeah, like we'd hear, like I said, our equipment would turn on, faucets would get turned on, and there'd be 2 people in the entire clinic on the opposite side.
So it sounds like it's not just, let's say, spirits of pets or ghosts, but there's this whole supernatural element thing that's going on. You've got lights going on, dryers going on, faucets going on. It's kind of all of this wrapped up together. Is that right?
Yeah, it was a really weird like place to work. And I didn't experience that with every vet or every boarding kennel I worked at. And I think that part of it is that we worked with the county. So working with the county, we got all the county strays. And unfortunately, not all those strays make it, and so I think that kind of has a place to play sometimes where, you get dogs that are naturally aggressive in life, don't really get a chance, not given, physically hurt by humans, and things like that. And you go and put them to sleep, and that's just, there's also, a lot of owners that don't stay with their pet at end of life. And I'm sure, I'm sure if that's all what their world revolves around, I wouldn't want to be left alone, the one person I want to see. So it leaves a lot of like really weird things happening.
Yeah. So it sounds like I'm just gonna make sure I clarify, and I'm gonna let Genevieve ask some questions. But it sounds like kind of what you're saying is you think maybe what was doing this, or kind of what was underpinning this, was the fact that there were a lot of animals that came through and maybe didn't really have a great life and didn't really have a great end to their life, and that maybe had something to do with why all this spooky stuff was going on. Am I kind of understanding that?
Yeah, I mean that's the way I feel about things. And it's pretty subjective, but I think that it's a way to look at things.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I can definitely see how if you believed that all of this was happening because of the spirits of these animals, it would make sense that perhaps you didn't experience this in other places because you didn't take in those same strays with the terrible lives. I guess I'm just wondering if that were true, if it really was that it was the spirits of these abused stray animals that were put down, for behavioral issues and trauma. Don't you think that phenomenon would be happening in every animal control in every town and every city across the world, especially in countries where people don't have the same relationship with dogs? In America, like my dogs, I have 4, they are my babies. I will feed them better than I feed myself. Whereas in other countries, they're street rats or they're food. do you think that if it were the spirits of pets, don't you think that because there are so many dogs and cats around the world that this would be happening everywhere, and this would be a documented thing that we could see across kill shelters all over the place?
Yeah, I mean, I do believe, like, okay, like I said, it hadn't happened at other vets I worked at, but to note, some of the other vets I didn't work at really didn't do much with euthanasia. I know that working with other shelters and other rescue, because I have worked with other rescue and shelter as well, and there's definitely always like a weird air. And again, I don't know if it is just the internal feeling of like, you know, you feel bad for these animals and what they've gone through. I don't know if that's just, you know, projecting. Like, I'm willing to definitely keep an open mind on that. But like you mentioned the wager earlier on the show, what does it hurt if we don't believe that? You know, if we live believing that we treat them right so that, you know, they get that, what does that hurt us? You know,
I think
kind of along those lines.
Yeah, I think real quick, and then again, I'm not even going to ask a question. I'll just shoot it back over to Genevieve because she's been crushing it this whole episode. Hey, like the video, everybody. Genevieve's been doing a fantastic job. But I guess what concerns me about that is when we accept things that we don't have good evidence for, even if there's this really nice motive behind it. I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you, Tasha. Like, please, people, treat your animals well. I mean, please, let's do this already. It's crazy that it's 2021 and we haven't figured this out yet. Like, of course a dog can feel pain. I mean, come on. But what concerns me about accepting the things is if we don't have really good evidence, if we don't have that demonstrable 1 + 1 = 2 type thing, it makes me concerned that we could lead down a path that ultimately gets us accepting other things that, whether intended or not, you know, maybe has bad consequences by itself or just doesn't necessarily do the thing that we wanted to do to begin with. But Genevieve, any other thoughts or questions?
You know, I mean, I think you're 100% spot on with that. I think you both are. I think that, you know, for you, it's important, of course, to take care of pets and be kind to all living creatures. I mean, like I said, I am a person with 4 dogs and 3 cats, and I'm vegan. Like, I can stand on this soapbox about how we should treat all living things well for eternity. And not because they'll experience any sort of eternal life or that they could haunt you, but just because it's the right thing to do. We should minimize suffering everywhere. But I think, you know, secular Rarity just brought up exactly what I would ask, which is, you know, can you see how perhaps accepting beliefs without solid evidence could lead to accepting other beliefs without solid evidence? And can you see how that might become problematic? Or examples of how that has already been problematic in our society?
Yeah, I do definitely understand that. And I do definitely like keep that in mind. And I just stay pretty pretty objective in things and in my beliefs. You know, and I'd like to also mention that this was earlier in my career, you know, and earlier in my young adulthood. Where it was harder to stay objective. You know, we all know the difference between, you know, being 18, 19 and, you know, growing up a bit. But yeah, I mean, the reason that I always like really kind of believe that is, again, it was pretty isolated to one part of the clinic. And we got in a practice of like unplugging our equipment and it still turned on. So it was like, that's I think, you know, where it was like, okay, that's a little much for me. I'm just gonna be over here on the other side of the clinic. Don't mind me.
Well, Tasha,
that, you know, especially like I said, I know some of the pets that did get put to sleep and under the circumstances they did, and it's like, you know, you weren't great living to deal with. I don't really want to deal with you not if that's the case.
Sure. Sure.
So
Well, Tasha, we're gonna let you go. We're getting real close to the end
perfect.
here, but thank you so much for calling us, and come hang out with
Yeah.
us. There's a Facebook, there's a Discord, there's Twitter, there's all kinds of great stuff, and it just a bunch of people just ready to listen and push back respectfully if we can. So
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. You guys
all
have a
right.
great night.
You too.
I think kind of what you said there, Genevieve, at the end was really great, and I think she kind of touched on it a little bit right there. She said, I stay away from that part of the wing, and that that in and of itself, right? I want to treat animals well, and I just don't go to that one room. I mean, that's not terrible. That's not detrimental to society. What's the problem?
Yeah.
But where does it end, right? So first we don't go to this part of the wing, and then next thing we know, we're unplugging all of our equipment, and then who knows where. And I think that's definitely something that a lot of us in this community, we want to try to do our best to minimize that as much as possible, because again, it could get bad real quick, and in ways you can't foresee, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is no slope more slippery than a broken epistemology.
That is. Did you come up with that? I love that.
On the spot. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Look, if you haven't liked, subscribed, and shared this video already, like I just don't know what's going to do it at this point. I mean, come on, people. Well, we have one more caller, and we are going to take Kathy up in Wisconsin here in just a second. Dinnick over in New York, give us a call back next week. We're sorry that we ran out of time, but we were just having some great conversations, and whoever's on next week or the week after or hanging out in the Facebook, I know they'll want to hear what you have to say. So definitely reach out to us. And just a reminder to everybody, right after this show ends, there is an awesome after show in the Discord. You get to hang out with us and ask some questions, and who knows what. I don't know. Maybe we'll find some cool aliens in the Discord. Like